Hello and welcome to this video, Templating with Jinja2. Ansible makes use of the Jinja2 templating language. We've already seen some examples of the use of Jinja2 where we have used double curly brackets to access variables. Jinja2 in itself is an extensive templating language with many books and resources dedicated to this subject alone. In this video, we're going to explore the use of Jinja2 templating. I suggest, given the breadth of this topic, it may be worthwhile re-reviewing this as your own independent research area later on. The more effective you can be with Jinja2, the more effective you can be with Ansible. The templating language is most commonly used in two ways in Ansible: a syntactical language within the playbook and as a templating agent for files. For example, configuration files. We're going to take a look at how we can use Jinja2 for if, else, and elif statements, for for loops, how we can use break and continue, ranges, and Jinja2 filters. Okay, so we're in the first revision, and if you have a look here, we will have a Jinja2 playbook. In this example, we're experimenting with the if statement. We're checking to see if the host is Ubuntu-C. If it is, it will display Ubuntu-C. If it's not, it won't. Quite simple. We're running against all of our hosts, so only one host will satisfy this condition. In the markup, we are using the minus symbol at the end of the if statement, as we want it to remove the empty carriage return that will result from the use of the comment and the if statement. If we give this a try, we can see in the output that the only one that this is actually matched on is Ubuntu-C. Let's go to revision 2. We've changed the example here from an if to an if and an elif. Therefore, we're covering the possibilities of it being Ubuntu-C or CentOS 1. Let's run this. We've covered two different criteria. We can see a match for Ubuntu-C and CentOS 1. Next up, we add an else condition to cover all other scenarios, and we'll have it specify the name using the fact Ansible_hostname. Okay, great. So that covers off all of the others. Step into revision 4. Next, we can check if a variable is defined using isDefined. In this case, the variable is not defined. And we can see there for all hosts that the variable is not defined. In this example, we're going to use Jinja2 to set a variable as well. So now we should have the criteria for the playbook to show the defined message. Okay, perfect. So all of these are now showing the variable as defined. With Jinja2, we can use for loops. In this example, Ansible_interfaces is a list of network interfaces. We're looping through each network interface entry. We can use the entry variable then within the for loop as we are here. When using the for loop, this is also a useful dictionary called loop that is available, and we're accessing the index key to show the iteration of the loop. Okay, great. And you can actually see for each of those, we have different entries that relate to the network interfaces on our systems. In this revision, revision 7, we're looking at ranges. So if, for example, we wanted to go from 1 to 10, we would use the following. Some of you might be wondering why it says 11 here. That's because, for the range syntax, the second entry is where the range will stop. Okay, great. And you can see there we've got 1 to 10 with the new line markers in between. In this revision, we're going to look at break and continue. If you're not familiar with programming languages, these are often available, but they're not available in Ansible by default. We can, however, add this functionality through the use of Jinja2 extensions. If we take a look at the configuration file, you can see there we have the additional line Jinja2 underscore extensions. And within our playbook, we have our for loop. To make things interesting, we have the range loop in reverse, i.e. starting at 10 and going to 0, with a third parameter as the step iteration. We're using a negative parameter here, so it will decrease the range. The double equal is used for equality. So if the entry from our loop is equal to 5, it's going to break out of the loop. Otherwise, we're just going to display the entry. Okay, great. So again, you can see that's worked as expected, and we have the entries there with the new line markers. In revision 9, we're mixing this up a bit with Jinja2. It's very flexible, and we're checking in this playbook if the entry is odd. We're making use of continue. So, in the event of an odd entry, it continues to the next entry. If not, it will display the entry. Great. You can actually see there all of the entries we have are even because all of the odd entries have been skipped. Ansible has a variety of filters available, and it's useful referencing these in the official documentation. Pause the video and have a look at the filters page. We'll then go through some examples. Okay, so we're in revision 10, and if we look at our playbook now, you can see here that we have a selection of filters, each of these within their own commented sections. In the first example, it's going to take this input, which is essentially a list of the numbers 1 to 5, and it's going to filter through and give us the minimum value. Next, we have the equivalent with max, where again it's going to go through these numbers and it will filter out the maximum number. Next, we have a list with every number doubled up. We have 2 1s, 2 2s, 2 3s, 2 4s, and 2 5s. And what we're actually doing there is filtering that so it's unique. In the next example, we have 2 lists. And we're actually saying, take the input list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then show the difference with the list of 2, 3, and 4. Next is the random filter, and here we have the entries Rod, Jane, and Freddie. Now, someone's going to get lucky on this playbook execution, and one of those 3 will be shown in the output for each host. And lastly, we have the URL split of the host name. So what we're actually doing here is supplying a full URL. We're actually using the URL split filter to extract the host name. Let's give this a try and see what happens. Okay, great. So I'm just going to scroll back up. And if we look at Ubuntu-C as an example, you can actually see there where we were requesting the minimum number, this has come through as 1. The maximum number has come through as 5. The unique list has been broken down to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The difference between the two lists is 1 and 5. And from a random perspective, we actually had ROD on this one for Ubuntu-C. When we split the host name, this left us with docs.ansible.com. Perfect. In the final example for this video, we demonstrate the Ansible template module, showing that all of the previous content that we've gone through can be used in a template file. This is one of the most common ways in which Jinja2 is used, essentially as a templating engine. This is going to read the template file as a source, then output to our destination with the hostname in the field. Let's run this, and when we do, we're going to limit this just to Ubuntu-C. Okay, and now if we take a look at the output file, we can actually see there we've got a nice, clean and easy to read viewpoint of the previous example where we've used the template engine to render our desired output. And once again, it's nice to see that Rod has made it back there for a second appearance. That's it for this video. Join me in the next one where we're going to apply the knowledge that we've learned to an Nginx deployment project in Ansible playbooks, creating and executing.